This is going in the blooper compilation for sure. What's up, guys? XXth here. So today I wanted to talk about the September 2020 Apple event, what we saw and what looked interesting, the main highlights of the event. So I usually try and do a video like this every year for the big Apple product announcements. This year I might be likely doing two videos because there were some big surprises at this event that I honestly wasn't expecting. So let's dive into those and see what we saw. So the biggest surprise out of the event to me, and I bet to a few of you as well, is that there were no new iPhones announced at this event. Now, that's unusual for September in Apple because that's when the iPhones have typically been announced since around 2012 with the iPhone 5. So why would they switch it up now? I'm not really sure. But probably some of it has to do with the COVID-19 pandemic, which makes sense. But I wouldn't think that they would have to delay it since a bunch of the workers that are building these phones are still working. So, that's that. But likely we will see the new iPhones in October, which isn't too far away. There likely will be another event held in Apple Park for that specifically. But there were a few things at this event that were pretty exciting. Now, before we get started, if you guys are not subscribed to the podcast channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. The link is in the description, or it is right here. So you guys can go ahead and subscribe to that. The first episode is going to be available on October 17th to watch. So yeah, why not go ahead and check it out? But let's go ahead and get into this video. So the three main things I want to go over with you in this video are the software that was announced, the hardware, and the services. So let's start with the software because that's pretty easy to get out of the way. So all of the software was released as of today when I'm filming this video, which is September 16th, which is iOS 14, tvOS 14, and watchOS 7. Now, macOS Big Sur, we're still waiting for that release. It still says on Apple's website that it's coming this fall. So hopefully that's either later in September or in early October. We're not really sure when yet, but all we know is that it's going to be available this fall, and macOS Big Sur is probably going to be the biggest upgrade out of Apple's software releases this year. But iOS 14 so far, I just downloaded it a few hours ago, and overall, I think it's pretty awesome. This is what my iOS 14 home screen is looking like on my iPhone SE1. So there's some context for you. And yeah, but what I really like is that iOS 14 and iPadOS 14, every device that got iOS 13 is getting the iOS 14 release. So that includes old devices such as the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus, and even the iPhone SE1. And for the iPad side, that includes iPads all the way as old as the iPad Air 2, which, funny enough, is actually the iPad that I still use on a daily basis. Now, I haven't found the release for this device just yet. It hasn't popped up yet, but it probably will pop up in a few days after filming this video. But trust me, it is on the release list. You can see it on Apple's website, so yeah. Now, next up is the hardware. Now, this was primarily the main focus of the event. The first thing that we saw from the hardware department for Apple was the new Apple Watch Series 6. Now, this is a fairly minor update over the Series 5, but not as much of a minor update as was the Series 4 to the Series 5. The Series 6 does have a few new features like a new blood oxygen sensor, which is addition to the heart rate monitor and the ECG monitor. But this blood oxygen sensor is going to be huge for health readings in people with major medical conditions. And also it comes in a bunch of new colors like blue, or as I call Moroccan blue, or midnight blue, or whatever the official color is called. And we also saw the new graphite in the stainless steel variation, and my personal favorite Apple Watch color now, product red. And of course, since it is a product red device, then the proceeds will go to AIDS and HIV relief funds, as well as COVID-19 relief funds, which is great. There are also a few more minor upgrades to the Series 6, such as a little bit brighter always-on display, so it's easier to read while you're outdoors, and a few other things, but overall, it's a fairly minor update from the Series 5. Definitely the biggest surprise to me out of the event, besides there being no iPhones, was the Apple Watch SE. Now, this is a much more affordable Apple Watch with a lot of the essential features that you expect from an Apple Watch, but if you don't want to pay the starting price of $400 for the Series 6, you can get the Apple Watch SE that starts at just $279. Now, this is actually going to be great for another new feature that Apple introduced to the Apple Watch, which is family setup. So this is great for either kids or your elderly parents or grandparents that may not have an iPhone to have the Apple Watch connected to. But here's the catch. It requires a cellular model of the Apple Watch Series 4 and later. So if you have a Series 3 cellular watch, it won't be compatible. So you have to have at least a Series 4, and it has to be a cellular variant. So GPS models do not work with family setup. And what happens is once you set it up to the parent iPhone, then what it'll do is it will give that Apple Watch its own phone number and a few other things to make it for that specific child or whoever you're giving this Apple Watch to. Now, this is going to be great for the Apple Watch SE because this is probably going to be the best-selling Apple Watch specifically for that feature, because if you really want your kids to have an Apple Watch for you parents out there, then this is a great way to do that. Apple also introduced a few new bands to the Apple Watch, like the brand new Solo Loop and braided Solo Loop, which I actually sort of use something similar on my Samsung Galaxy Watch Active, and my mom uses a similar thing on her Apple Watch Series 3, and it works out pretty well. These are actually come in a lot more sizes, so it's not just really 40 and 40 millimeter. You can have a range of sizes based on your wrist size, because there's no buckle or overlapping parts with this band, which is actually kind of convenient. And yeah, it's just a super nice option to have if you don't like a clasp or buckle, which I know some people do not prefer. And the next thing we saw at the Apple event for September 15th was, of course, the iPad 8. Now, this is probably the most incremental update out of Apple's newest lineup. It really wasn't it's not a huge refresh. It's pretty much the same design that we've seen since, the original iPad era, I guess. But it does have the A12 Bionic chip, which isn't a new chip. And I kind of wish they actually used the A13, but A12 is still pretty fast. It's the same chip that's in the iPhone XR and XS. So it works out pretty well. It's probably going to be it's definitely going to be faster because for 2 years in the base iPad, Apple was using the A10 Fusion chip. They never went to the A11 Bionic chip. It was the A10 Fusion ever since the iPad 6 in 2018. So this is a nice upgrade. So, yeah. Now, that base iPad is going to start at $329 and just $299 for the education market. So, and I believe for that $329 starting price, it starts at 64 gigs of storage. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. It might actually be 32 gigabytes. I'm not 100% sure. But then the thing that I was most excited for out of the event was the new iPad Air 4. Now this is a pretty major update over the Air 3. It now has the new all-screen design like the iPad Pro, and it has a bunch of new features. But what surprised me the most is that this is, even being a full-screen iPad, it doesn't actually have Face ID like the iPad Pro. It actually, now Touch ID is officially back. And it is integrated into the power button, which, out of all places, is kind of the last place I thought Apple would put a fingerprint reader. I thought they would either move it under the glass, but I guess that's their next best alternative. And I guess you don't really have, not really much of an option to put a fingerprint reader under the glass in a tablet, I think. But yeah, that's nice to see that Touch ID is now back. That is very cool. The Air now has Apple's new A14 Bionic chip, which is kind of surprising that it gets it before the new iPhones do. But I guess it makes sense. So it's the A14 Bionic, and what is crazy about this chip is that it is the first mobile processor to run on the 5nm process, which means this chip is incredibly tiny and incredibly power efficient. So this is going to be great for battery life. And the iPad Air also has a few more new upgrades over the previous generation, like it now has switched over from Lightning to USB-C, which is a great advantage for power delivery. And there's a few more downgrades, like the headphone jack, I believe, is now gone. Yeah, I would be surprised if it was still there. And the last thing I want to talk about is the services. So Apple introduced a few new services at this event. You guys know they have all their services. They have Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade, Apple News Plus. What am I forgetting? I don't know which one I'm forgetting. I'll put it here. But Apple introduced their newest member of their services family, which is Apple Fitness Plus. Now, Apple Fitness Plus is basically it's tied to your iCloud, and you can as long as you have to have an Apple Watch for this to work. How it works is you subscribe to this, and what happens is you subscribe to this, and now you have a whole library of workouts that are now set up specifically for Apple Watch users. And the last thing is their services all tied together is now in a bundle package called Apple One. Now, Apple One is coming later this year, and you can do a couple of different packages. So there's a starter package, I believe Apple Music and some other things, and then there's a Plus package and a Premier package, I believe. And the Premier package gets you everything and a full 2 terabytes of iCloud storage. So that basic package gets you, I think, 50 gigabytes of iCloud storage, and the mid-tier one gets you about 200 gigabytes, and then the top tier gets you 2 terabytes of iCloud storage. And it's all bundled into one package, which is nice to see. Google has something similar to that, I think, called Google One. I think that's pretty much the same thing. It's kind of weird how they're under the same name. Apple One, Google One. And with that being said, that is going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully we see some iPhones in October, and hopefully they're pretty awesome. But that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button down below, follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and go subscribe to the podcast channel. Like I said, it is going to be premiering on October 17th, so be on the lookout for that. But anyways, I'll go and catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Let me try that slap one more time. Peace.